This is Andy B. It's turned 5 o'clock. You've just been listening to the news. We've got more music coming. I'm on till 7 o'clock today when Andy Brown takes over for 90s tunes. But right now, Laure Jackson joins me every week from Jersey. Hello, Anne.
Hello. Good to see you.
Now, we talk about all things sensory healthy related. A really quick one. So I'm going to put this to Richard next week. Mm-hmm. Joe and I popped out to the shops earlier, and there was a trolley. Now, I'm not quite sure what sort of magic they think exists on this. That's the question I'm going to be asking Richard. But on the handle of the trolley, it says antimicrobial, which I thought, well, that sounds really fancy and clever. If someone has just sneezed on that thing, I'm fairly confident nothing is going to do anything about the fact they've just sneezed on it. It sounds good, but it got me thinking about, this isn't the topic either. It just got me thinking about how we view interactions with other people, perhaps in a supermarket where, we're buying food, important stuff, and they might have the sniffles. And I know for me personally, I'm reaching for the antibacterial solution just in case. Not because I've got OCD, but I don't want to get a cold.
Yeah. Like, when you were talking about shopping trolley, though, I was automatically going with my sensory head. I was going to the coordination, the fact that they don't go where you want them to go, and all of that. I was trying to think how we have to compensate. I have to have really good sensory processing to do it. But no, it's like, okay, so.
But it affects how we interact with other people, because I'm looking at the trolley and thinking, well, I know. I can guarantee that thing is not clean. I don't care what it says on it. It's plastic. So it is a perfect breeding ground for germs. It's not going to go anywhere. But it just got me thinking about the sensory implications of interactions with others with trolleys. Forget the wheels that go the wrong way all the time and want to slam into things. I was just thinking about the handle, and some people must struggle with the idea of touching that plastic thing that they know another 100 people have probably already held today.
Yeah, that is definitely a real thing, and it is a tactile thing. It is, as you say, that they're touching it, but I think it's much more because of the cognitive, the thinking processes, the unwillingness to catch something. Some folks are particularly hypersensitive to bugs and uncleanliness and things like that. So yes, for them, for sure, it would be. For me, a pure tactile thing would be more the temperature and the feel of the plastic, or if there's a slight snag in it. There are people that just won't touch it. If it's too cold, if it's too hot, it's all of those kind of tactile things that would be more pure sensory issues rather than any potential unhealthy clinical pathological ways of thinking about your shopping trolleys.
Which is the bit I wanted to speak to Richard, because I don't think that antimicrobial means what they want us to think it means. But that's
I need to listen
thing.
to that one. Yeah, it would be good to listen to that one and find out what he says there.
I'm fascinated. Now, I wanted to get back into what we normally do, which is topics, and it's not shopping trolleys. Okay, I'm sure we could design a very, very good trolley for sensory health. One, basically, that doesn't turn in 7 directions at once. That would be the basic point of that one. But we talk about sensory healthy situations. We've talked about sensory healthy car journeys, or going to bed, sleeping. How do we look at that? Or eating? And there's some sort of, I suppose, your typical classic areas where we might struggle with our senses, and most of us would grasp that one. But I was thinking today about the fact that I've got the window open in the studio. Mm-hmm. We've gone from very, very cold, 2 coal fires working away here, because otherwise it's freezing cold, oil heating whirring away, and it basically gets the house to a decent temperature, and we're okay. But now, today, 48 hours later from that point, now we've got the window open downstairs in the main office. We've got the window open in the studio here because it's really hot. And I was thinking about people, particularly, who struggle going from cold to hot. Now, weather's always going to do that. It can be an issue, but it just struck me. I wonder how much more of an issue. I mean, I feel hot. I open a window. I feel better. But then there's the sensory healthy element of that, of people who can't just open a window, feel a bit of a breeze and feel better. So how do we better help those folk who are struggling with the heat differences this time of year?
Yeah, it actually is a really, really big thing. It's a huge thing. there is something in the way that our nervous system works, that we have this period of time in between receiving some sensory input. The brain interprets it, makes sense of it, and then decides how to respond to it. In that process, there's a bit at the end called habituation, which is where, so for example, if you're listening and you're sitting on a seat, you will probably now pay attention to what your bottom is sitting on, and you can tell how hot or how cold or how comfy or however, and that's that process of bringing the brain to attention to some sensory input. Now, in time, as I keep talking and as you keep talking, most of us will habituate to that, and we will no longer concentrate or pay attention to what it feels like, what we're sitting on. So that's that habituation. Now, we will do that over a period of seconds, if not minutes. But we do have some people who temperature changes, it's like hours, it's days, it's weeks, and for some it's even months. They're only used to getting used to the cold of winter and everything that comes along with it by the time spring comes around again. So it's really tough for some of our people how to actually realistically habituate, get used to a new temperature of what life is like. So yeah, there are quite a few strategies that we would need to look at.
And especially this time of year, it's not that you're just going from cold, nice and gently, to a slightly warmer temperature so that by the summer it's all nice. It doesn't work that way. Well, it doesn't in the UK. Other countries maybe, but here in the England, northeast England, we're bouncing from cold to hot, and occasionally there's a bit of sun. And that's kind of the way it goes, which means you can't prepare yourself for a nice, gentle progression. Today, went out with Joe to the shops, and I took a jacket because it was quite cold outside. Got into the car, it's very hot. So I've gone from the nice temperature of a house, which is kind of okay. We've got that sorted. Walk outside. Now I'm thinking I want a jacket on. I didn't bother because I know I'm getting into a car, which has probably got a cold seat, but then it's going to be warmer. So I'm able to sort of plan ahead and not put the jacket on. I chucked it in the back seat of the car, but I didn't need it. I almost did, but I had it. So I'm planning ahead because I've got a really good connection to my senses. But how do we help others for whom that's not the case?
Yeah. So first off, always layers are your friend. And there's a sensitivity that comes if you are a carer of an adult or a parent of a child, that your own body temperature, don't put that onto your child or the other person. Because we all have that different baseline. Yes, there's general things of general humanity. But when you're dealing with sensory processing issues, their baseline can be different. So they won't necessarily feel the cold in the same way that you will, or they may feel the heat a lot more than you do. So don't automatically assume, especially if you're having a battle with someone, or if the adult is turning around to you and saying, no, they don't want to do it, or the child is saying, no, like, I don't want to take my coat off, or I really don't want to put it on again. Don't get into a battle about that. Accept what they are saying, and try over time to pay attention to what it is that they are choosing to wear, when they're choosing to layer up, at what point do they actually register temperature. Registration is one of our key words as well, where some people are overreactive, so they register sensation really, really quickly. So as soon as the temperature even increases like a degree or two, a Celsius or two, then they're acutely aware of it. So their registration is very, very precise. And then there are others who literally it needs to change 10 to 15 degrees before they recognize that there has been a temperature change. And if they don't get sick, and if they're not bothered by it, then try not to let it bother you, because it's very easy for it to, because we are judging other people by our own experience, our own temperature regulation, our own experience of hot and cold. So yeah, it has a place that we think of people as we think of ourselves, but it also, when it comes to sensory processing, you have to give a bit of a leeway, in some cases a huge amount of leeway, as to what they can actually tolerate or not. But effectively layer up, or bring layers in the car or out with you just in case.
I don't know how many cars have this. Ours has like a dual temperature things. You can set the driver's side and the passenger side slightly differently. Ours is even a bit fancy because you can set the back of the car slightly differently.
Ooh.
Honestly, we have it set to one temperature for the car. I know there are some folks. I read this the other day and I thought, how? That's going to be a strained marriage. So apparently the husband likes the car at 16 degrees and his wife likes her side of the car at 28 degrees. And I'm thinking, that's quite a temperature difference. A few degrees either side, fair enough. But I think it was literally 27, 28 for her side, and his side in the car was 16, 17. And I'm just that's quite a difference.
That is where that's one of those situations for the sake of the marriage. It would be just like, okay, one needs to take a layer off, one needs to put a layer on, and yeah, as you say, within a small space of a car, it may think that it can control the temperature, and it might blow different air out to you, but it's all going to merge eventually because the car's not that big. So yeah, there are different accommodations that need to be made there for marital harmony and marital peace, indeed.
Yes, at Family Peace, we have our set to the temperature of the driver. Anybody else tough? Driver wins. Same with the music. Whoever's driving, it's their call. We don't care. Look, if you're driving the car, that's the thing. Now, one of the most obvious things from what you've been saying, where we probably experience this quite possibly, is when you go to a home that is centered more for older folk, where generally speaking, it's going to be a lot hotter. I remember the first time I went into a place like that, and it felt like a wall of heat. Because I was an adult and I like temperature, normal temperature, 17, 18, healthy temperature. It's where I like. I'm smacking the average. But it was just a wall of heat. And the whole time I'm there, I'm falling asleep. I'm sweating. I've taken everything off. My t-shirt's there. I've got my jacket and my coat because it's cold. And I'm thinking, I'm melting. I'm falling asleep. And in my brain, I didn't quite understand it. I thought, well, it's no wonder these people are falling asleep because I am. However, it's not quite that simple.
No, not for elderly care. And this is where, with me now going into some of our homes, I'm very conscious that was my very first thought. It was nothing about anything else. It was just like, oh, crumbs, it's going to be hot in there. Because of their lack of mobility, therefore their lack of muscle use, and therefore their lack of chemical reaction to keep the body warm. But the problem I have is that I have a hoodie with my brand, with my little Santé top on, but I don't have any other items yet because I've never needed anything that's a bit lighter weight. So I just had to make sure that there was, I just had my hoodie and nothing else because it was just, I just knew I'm going to boil, and I can't have layers here because this is not going to be good for me. The other side of it is I really need to go and invest in some different type of, different type of wear. But yeah, it is hot, but for that reason. It's not. Yeah, they will be snoozing. Probably more for how much the brain can cope with during the day. The heat possibly, but it's more. Yeah, you just feel the cold so much more when you don't move.
But that's one that we can grasp. Many of us have got grandparents. If you're in your 30s, 40s, you've probably got grandparents already, unless they've tragically died younger. You've probably been into a nursing home, a care home. Somebody just, your grandparents' house is quite possibly a lot hotter than you might be comfortable with. But like you say, they're not moving around, therefore they're not generating as much heat. So they need more heat around them in order to be okay. That's one where, you now have got it's an interesting sensory healthy problem. The hoodie that you use is not up to the task. So you're now talking about, okay, so I need something thinner. A t-shirt or something similar would be, I guess, more appropriate for that. It's a real, that's a real world problem of if I'm going to keep meeting these people, I need to be doing it without being dehydrated by the end. So you can change, but of course, not everybody can do that.
No, that is the hard thing. And it's what are the things, that there are times that I'm advising folks to have their hand warmers in their bag, or they bring their ice packs, or they have those hand fans, anything that we can do to help them regulate the temperature. And, in the heat of the summer, it's like make sure everybody has a cold bath before you try and retire for bedtime, so that your body has more chance, because it's going to heat up anyway, but it's going to heat up a little bit slower, and hopefully you will go off to sleep before the intensity of the heat actually returns.
Slight aside, I do remember going to bed one night We were living in the south of England, and we went to bed, and it kept on getting hotter. And at 3 a.m., I think Joe and I got up because the bed sheets were just saturated with sweat. It
Yeah.
just got hotter and hotter through the night. You have the doors open, the windows open, the fans are on. It's getting hotter, and it does reach a point of we're never going to sleep. We're going to die from thirst here. It's just getting crazy. Now, okay, it's not that bad, but it feels that way. But when you're working with other folk, like you say, it is not projecting I like this temperature, so you're going to have to be okay with that, because that's not helpful. If you've got a greater ability to cope with a range of sensory healthy temperatures, actually, you're the one that probably needs to take it, bringing it back to the Bible. Loving people as you want to be loved yourself, the scripture that everyone wants to quote, whether they're Christians or not, means in this situation, well, maybe I just need to be okay with being hotter. Do you know what? That's okay, because this is something they can't cope with. I can be okay with that. And I do remember when I was trucking, here's another one. I remember trucking, and I spent a lot of time standing outside because I used to operate a lorry mounted crane with big cabins. And we'd stand there maybe for an hour or two and not doing much because it's been bolted or they're putting cables in. So you're just moving this thing. So you're standing in the cold, normally in the middle of a field. So one of the things I discovered very quickly was I don't like being that cold because I can't move and I cannot get warm because I can't leave. So I got some thermal underwear, the best purchase in the entire globe. And I would be standing there with my t-shirt on and everybody saying, are you mad? You can't feel the heat. You're ill. You need to see a doctor. And I just pull up the edge of the t-shirt and show them the thermal t-shirt thing that I was wearing. It's like, I'm fine, thanks. And it's amazing how layers can help. Now, that's a very, very specific layer. But my goodness, that was good.
Yeah. Oh, and when we have those things, it just makes it such a difference to how you feel. When you feel of the basics of temperature, how much more you can relax, how much more you're able to listen to others, how much more able you are to concentrate, pay attention, focus, rather than being distracted by your own coldness or by your own heat. And it's that simple. That's what sensory health is all about. It's the simplest things that make the biggest difference.
It really is. Thermal underwear. Everybody said I was, a loser and a wimp and all the rest of it. And I'm saying, I don't care. You're shivering. I'm not. Who's the idiot out this moment in the middle of the winter when we all know we're going to be stood by the truck? We can't go away. I'm in a t-shirt, warm, thanks very much. And they're in coats and all the rest of it, shivering. It's like, well, one of us is an idiot and it isn't me right now, is it? Anyway, slight aside on the trucking. But here's another one. Medication. We know that can screw with all sorts of things with side effects. When I started taking medication for my heart, one of the most bizarre side effects that nobody had warned me about was I had purple hands because all the circulation was stopping.
Oh.
Apparently that's quite normal. No one told me this. So I was almost so sort of blue and purple fingers. So I had to keep on moving to try and keep stuff working. And over time, my body got used to it and it was fine. But initially, I was freezing cold. We went out to a local shop and it was cold. Now, I'm quite used to, normally I'm a t-shirt in the middle of winter. That's fine. I was wrapped up and we were getting quite worried. 1/4 mile walk, by the way. I was shivering so badly because I just couldn't generate heat because my heart wasn't pumping fast because it was being restricted on the medication. My fingers were freezing cold. And even today, I'm on the same sort of medication many years on. And I have to go out with gloves most of the time. Because even on a normal day, if I get a little bit of a breeze in my hands now on the medication, they get really, really cold to the extent of being quite painful and uncomfortable. So I now have gloves most of the time in a coat or a jacket just in case.
That's a wise move. Well, it's not quite a scary thing, but it's a very unpleasant thing and hard when you can't control that. That is just something that you have, but you've found some beautiful ways to get over that or to compensate so that you can still do the things that you want to do. But you just know that sometimes you are just going to have those gloves on. Or did you ever try hand warmers? Did you ever have those little things?
I haven't. I know what they are and I've seen them. I've never had them. I remember somebody had one time and I tried it and thought, this is nice. It's quite like that. But I don't like being heated. That's the problem. I don't like heating up in that sense. So it's trying to balance that with the fact I don't like being warmer than I need to be because I like the t-shirt. It's that sort of a thing of, okay, but what can I do? And my family are great. They'll say, have you got your gloves, especially on a colder day? And they'll say, have you got your gloves? Because they know my fingers are going to get really cold. My ears will hurt. So I've got a snood, which is like a like a tube thing you can stick on your head and do all sorts of weird things with it. One of which for me is I cover my ears because it doesn't get a bit cold. It hurts. And what's frustrating is I love the cold and the outdoors, but I've had to find other ways. Now, I'm very well connected with my senses, I would think, but there are little things that I cannot control. And the not controlling is the bit that makes me quite upset. It makes me not want to go outside. What's the point? I used to be able to walk normally. Now I've got to have gloves. Look at me, I'm weird. But do you know what? I've got to a point of not caring in a really good way. If people think I'm weird with a snood on not that cold a day, I don't really care because I'm not in pain. That's a good thing.
Yes, and that's all we take forward and absolutely go with that. And what's just hearing you speak is the way that everybody should be processing, because the obvious thing would be a hand warmer, but actually that's for you. It's just making sure people think all of these things through and try and have a look at what's out there, but realize that they will be unique. They have a unique sensory thumbprint. And what is it? And we need to find that good fit. And for you, you've tried a few things. We could have a second layer, maybe like a very thin kind of bamboo gloves or something, or just different types of gloves. And you might have different layers of gloves so that you don't, it's again, like it's like having another thermal layer inside some gloves if it's not too restrictive. And that's the other thing. Sometimes if you have two, then you don't have that freedom in your hands, and then people won't like that because they can't, their proprioceptive feedback and their tactile feedback isn't what they're used to and they don't like it. So it's finding that right sensory fit for who you are and how you are. That's a beautiful example of thinking something through so that you find something that works for you.
My favorite gloves, it's a bit of an aside again. So I used to do a lot of motorbiking, and I rode all year round. It was my way of getting to work. And I bought some special winter gloves, and they were special for two reasons. One, they had a little windscreen wiper stitched onto the edge of the finger so you could clean your visor. Very cool. They also were slightly oversized for the hand, and they came with an interior pair of gloves, effectively thermal gloves, which you put on. They go in the gloves, so it's designed to work one with the other, so they're lovely and snug, and it makes such a difference. I kept those gloves, the inner ones, for a long time after I lost the outers, because the inner gloves were so good, stretchy, thin, perfect fit. Have you ever seen the one size gloves you can get usually in a supermarket? They're like £1, and parents buy them when they've lost the other ones. My hand just about fits in there, but I have quite large hands, always have done. So they were perfect because they were sort of man-sized gloves, not kiddie ones that I used to try and nick and force on my hand. And like you said, then your hand you have this sort of claw thing going on because it's like 14 sizes too small. But it's amazing what you can cope with when your hands are cold.
I think anybody listening, I know we're a bit early for Christmas maybe, but hey, like Andy B, see if we can find him a lovely pair of gloves with inners. I think that's such a good idea. So that's perfect. You've got your layers. But well-fitted layers. You think? I wonder if because you have cobblers, don't you? For well, I don't know if you call them is that people who create your shoes will make shoes for you. I wonder if you have people who will create gloves for you.
You must have. Are they like glovelers? I mean, what do you call a cobbler for hands? I mean, I don't know what that's called really.
There we go. Write in, send in, phone in your answers. What do you call someone who makes a pair of gloves?
Yes. No, but layers matter. I like t-shirts. I have a hoodie. I like hoodies because I can have a t-shirt. I can put the hoodie on. I can unzip the hoodie. So I've still got like a layer and a half, or you can zip it up. Then you've got two layers. I've always liked separate coats. I've got now a winter coat because we live in the middle of nowhere in the northeast of England, and it gets bitter. I don't like the coat I've got, and the reason I've got it is I couldn't find what I wanted, which is an inner fleece coat and an outer raincoat, which zips on. I love those. I like separate things because you can replace one when the other one breaks. So I've got this big, chunky, thick Michelin Man coat, and it's great. But I miss my old fleece and my old raincoat, which was brilliant because it was thinner and lighter and easier. And yeah, I don't like I'm not the sort of person that would do well with what's it called, the thing with the baby when you coddle the baby and you wrap it up.
Swaddling.
Thank you. See, that would never work for me. I would not be happy. I like a little bit of movement. I don't like being wrapped up too tight. Not that anybody's wrapped baby up for a while. Just say.
Yeah. It's like we're sorting through the roof space, and the new sleeping bags that were out, they are so tight. I was just like, nope, can't do those. Can't do those. It has to.
There is a wide one. I found a wide one. It's the old-fashioned sleeping bag, but new. There aren't many.
Hurrah.
Yes.
Okay. Well, that's on my Christmas list then, or my birthday present list. Okay. Good. Thank you.
Yeah. I've got an oversized modern one. It's enormous. And the reason is I don't want to feel too squished, and I still feel squished.
Oh, wow. Okay.
So I should have bought the other one that was more expensive at the time. I couldn't afford it. That's why I didn't buy it. But it's a properly wide one.
That's very heartening. Oh, good. So my camping days are not yet over.
No, not yet. Right. If you want to connect with Laure Jackson, you can do. She works and lives on the island of Jersey, which is beautiful. She has Sonte, which is her business with a centre and all sorts of great stuff. If you want to connect with her, you can do, because she works digitally and remotely, which is great. Just go to our website, pure247radio.org, pure247radio.org/ALJ, and you can contact on Laure Jackson and more besides. Thank you, Anne.
Thank you. See you next time.
Did you know that at Pure 24/7 Radio, we also offer advertising? Advertising really does work. Let's face it, you're listening to this. Want to know more? Well, just go to pure247radio.org, pure247radio.org/advertising, and you can get everything you want and more there.